we do want to bring in our guest this hour to discuss.
All right, we have national trial attorney Michael Jaafar, who is standing by for us. Michael, two trials for Lori Daybell, with the Charles Vallow trial going first. It's the same conspiracy, allegedly. The prosecution is going to be arguing this umbrella of what these killings and attempted killing happened under. Who do you think this hurts or helps to have separate trials in this case?
I think it only serves to hurt Lori Vallow, or Lori Daybell. Don't know what to call her anymore. I think it only serves to hurt her because basically it's like a vice, like she's in the middle of a vice and she's getting squeezed, and she's obviously representing herself. I think it's kind of just opening up wounds. And anytime I see this woman in a courtroom, you know, we've all watched the Netflix documentary, and I want to see less of her, but unfortunately these courts have to see more of her. I think it hurts her for her to have these trials, you know, go forward, and it almost doesn't matter which one goes first and which one goes second. At the end of the day, it's going to be the same wound for the public watching this and seeing this, because at the end of the day, every time anybody looks at this woman, they remember the fact that she murdered two kids, one of them being autistic, which is the same thing as hurting an infant. So I think it's just a wound, and kind of almost doesn't matter which trial goes first, in my opinion.
Michael, when things start to get underway there in Arizona, you know, the judge has told her, you can go ahead and represent yourself, but if then you decide you want counsel, I'm not going to let you go back and then represent yourself. What do you think? Do you think she's going to be able to continue on with representing herself throughout the whole trial? I mean, it's going to get complicated.
Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up. This is a big burden and a hardship on the judge and the prosecution and all the members of the court, right? It's a very big hardship. If you ever ask a judge off the record, right, or especially judges, if you ask them off the record, what are your thoughts of a person representing themselves? They will roll their eyes and they will tell you it's the most difficult part of being a judge. Imagine being a judge. What do? Then you hold somebody in contempt. So if somebody keeps going on with cross-examination, or because they don't understand the rules, nor should they. So they're going to go off the record. They're going to go on tangents. They're going to have double, run-on sentences that mean nothing, and then they're going to start becoming argumentative. Because remember, when you're cross-examining somebody, you're not allowed to make statements. You're not allowed to make arguments to a jury or a judge. All you're allowed to do is ask short, crisp questions. But people who are not initiated in our industry, Kelly, don't know how to do that. Rightly or wrongly, they just don't know how to do it. So it's going to be a big hardship on the judge. And so the judge at some point will tell her, look, I'm going to have to hold you in contempt, maybe, or I'm just going to have to send you back to jail for a day. Think about it, read up on the rules. So it's going to be tough.
Yes, she asked for that advisory council, or she was okay to have that advisory council help her with jury selection. So probably from the very get, we're going to see some challenges for Lori Daybell, no longer Lori Daybell. What do you make of that side of it, Michael Jaafar? Dropping Vallow from her name. She's got this makeshift ring on. She's, of course, still married to Chad Daybell. But how is that going to play to a jury that she's trying to distance herself from her fourth husband, that she is going to get up there and say she had nothing to do with killing?
You know, she's arguing to a celestial body, Julia, right? She's arguing to the prophet. Remember, she's married to the prophet. So at the end of the day, you know, kill my kids, be damned, right? I'm married to the prophet himself. We're going to see them one day. I didn't kill them. They were just demons. So I think the whole thing is a complete, circus in her mind. There are people who actually believe that they are prophets and that they're married to prophets, and then look at what they're capable of doing. This woman used to be, I think, the Texas beauty queen, or she won Miss Texas or something like that. She was a star. She was in that documentary, she was a model mother at some point. It's crazy what 10 years will do to a person.
Yeah, I mean, Michael, I covered that last trial for Chad Daybell that we were out there in Boise, Idaho for quite some time. I was just watching her over here on the other screen, some of the past video that we have of her. And, it's just so interesting to see how all of this has unfolded, and now how she is choosing to represent herself, and how this will go, how the judge during the hearing this morning talked to her about the way she needs to title her motions. He is being patient with her. He's giving her a lot of direction. And as you were mentioning, throughout, when the trial gets going, it's going to be tough, and he's probably going to have to provide her with so much direction. I think you're right. He's going to eventually say to her, you know what, maybe let's take a break, go back and think about if this is how you want to continue.
Yeah, if you ask any judge, what's the hardest thing about being a judge? The first thing they'll tell you is the pay cut I take, and the second thing they'll tell you is people going pro se. Even not in just complicated criminal trials. I'm talking about just any basic motion, right? And also, here's the thing: strategically speaking, it also didn't make any sense to me why. Nothing that she does make sense, but this definitely didn't make sense because technically she's only convicted of a crime right now that she theoretically could appeal, theoretically could come back on appeal. And so if she represents herself here and she has a FUBAR, she makes a mistake and she gets convicted here, but the other appeal gets approved on her initial conviction, then now she's still spending the rest of her life in prison for conspiracy to murder one of her husbands with another trial coming. So again, nothing makes sense, but it is what it is.
We're going to bring in our guest, still with us, National Trial Attorney Michael Jaafar. Michael, thank you for sticking around and watching this case out of New Hampshire. Eventually, we're going to be hearing from the defendant in this case. What's your synopsis of what we've seen so far?
My synopsis is that this case is not about who, what, where, or when. It's about why. Why did Victor Rivera execute these two people, right? The defense attorney already told us in her opening statement, and this is the only way to really handle this case, is that, yeah, he was the person in the video. He did kill them, but he was provoked. He did not know that they were having an affair until just then. So I looked this up, right? So in New Hampshire, a second-degree murder has up to life in prison. But a heat of passion murder is not even really a murder in New Hampshire. It's considered a manslaughter. So if she can get it down to a manslaughter, if she can get it down to a heat of passion, if she can convince the jury that a reasonably prudent person might have been provoked and become in an unstable emotional state, she might be able to flip the juries, because in New Hampshire, to bring it down to heat of passion murder, you have to show that the defendant was extremely provoked, right, by him finding out or seeing what he saw, right? You have to show that. And so at the end of the day, that's really the only play, right? If this murder happened in 1925 instead of 2024, then perhaps there wouldn't be surveillance video. He could say, they pulled a gun on me. You could do anything. But in this day and age, you pretty much know everything that happened to almost everybody, unless they're in the middle of nowhere. So we'll see what happens when he takes the stand. It's everything when he takes the stand. That's his case.